Civil War. So first off, we got this peep, Eli Whitney, who not only created cotton gin, but also interchangeable parts. The cotton gin renewed slavery, and interchangeable parts gave the North a military advantage when needed. Next, the Missouri Compromise of 1820 allowed Missouri to enter as a slave state, but Maine had to enter as a free state to keep the balance within the government. But it also created a line at the 36-degree latitude, slavery not being allowed in North with the exception of Missouri. The Tariff of 1828, or the Tariff of Abominations, benefited the North and exploited the South. The South had to buy products from the North which were made out of cotton and such other things which were provided by the South. The North also benefited because they were allowed to compete in foreign trade. With this came rising tension between the North and the South. On to the societal spectrum, one of the many important dudes, William Lloyd Garrison, started an abolitionist newspaper called The Liberator and had formed the New England Anti-Slavery Society. Slaves at the same time were rebelling on small and grander scales, the smaller being working as slow as they could but not to where they get punished, and also poisoning their master's food, getting a 5-star rating on GTA for like 2 minutes. On a larger scale, however, you had people like Nat Turner's Rebellion, which resulted in the execution of 60 slaves and Turner hiding for 3 months before being caught afterwards. Can't talk about Civil War causes without talking about the Mexican-American War fam. So the main thing is DC at the time was in Virginia, aka the South, and they had sent someone to barge in on Mexico and steal their land like America does best. Cue all the oil memes. The gun in this presentation is the Colt 45, aka 6-shooter rifle, which became the gun that won in the West. Since the North was a manufacturing bustle, they'd have to produce most of all of these guns. Yay! Another compromise. This time the Compromise of 1850, which allowed California to enter as a free state and gave both Utah and New Mexico the choice to either enter as a slave or a free state. It also gave way to the Fugitive Slave Act, in which southern slave hunters would move north and sometimes captured free slaves while the North posted signs telling runaway slaves to stay out of sight and help them in any way they could. What a wonderful lady Harriet Tubman was. She led runaway slaves through the Underground Railroad, a series of tunnels in which runaway slaves were held by abolitionists to get to freedom, that being Canada. A work of literature important to know is Uncle Tom's Cabin. It illustrated the horrors of slavery in the North and made them more sympathetic towards slaves. What a brawl Blake, Kansas was. It occurred in response to the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Both sides, anti-slavery and pro-slavery folk, flocked to Kansas in attempts to gain it under their following. The anti-slavery peeps won, seeing as they wiped out pro-slavery's army. The Kansas-Nebraska Act also nullified the Missouri Compromise. The Missouri Compromise was also found unconstitutional in the Dred Scott v. Sanford court case. One of the statements in Lee's inaugural address was taken as an unofficial declaration of war. He had said that he would only invade any state that failed to collect tariffs. One last thing I'd like to touch on is the farmers' aristocracy, which I didn't know where to put chronologically. The farmers' aristocracy was the upper 1% in the South. Most were politicians and happened to be the ones wanting to succeed.